Hello, dear friends. I am in first class for micromeritics. So, I will teach today about micromeritics, which are coming under different three category, which are first one is particle size and size distribution. Second one is method for determining particle size. Third one is density and flow properties of powders. So, So, first we discuss about what is micromeritics. Micromeritics is nothing but to study the particle and its nature. Because whenever we are considering about the powders, these are highly useful in the pharmaceutical industry. Not only in the formulation, but whenever we are thinking about the effect of that powder in our body, it's also very much important to study the characteristics of the powder. Why? Whenever you are going for the formulation of any kind of product, for example, if that is a capsule or that is a tablet, it is very much important is that the drug has to be, the powder has to be filled uniformly for the different dye cavity for the tablet compression, or if you are filling up a capsules, the granule must be uniform. Otherwise, the weight variation or the content uniformity will not be there. So, and for the absorption purpose, whenever you are taking any kind of particle, you will see that if the particle size is less, the more is its surface area. So, more will be its area of contact, and the faster will be the dissolution. So, the directly it is involving on the drug effect, because higher the dissolution, better the absorption, faster the therapeutic effect of any kind of drug. Secondly, what is the importance of micromeritics in the pharmaceuticals? First of all, we must know. First one is release and dissolution of drug. Second one is absorption and drug action. Third one is the physical stability. Fourth one is the dose uniformity. Now, we have to know how the drug is related to physical stability, how the micromeritics is related to physical stability of any kind of formulation. Because, for example, if you are taking any kind of suspension or you are taking any kind of emulsion, we know that these are having, if the particle size is less, more will be its stability. Because if you are taking a suspension, the solid ingredients which are present in the powder form inside the liquid, you will see that if the particle will remain in the vehicle for a long time, better will be its stability. Whenever the drug is coming down, settling down, we can see that if the rate of sedimentation is directly depending upon the particle size. If the particle size will be less, more will be the suspension stability. Similarly, for the emulsion, if the droplet will be formed the globules and globules will be formed in a large, then you will see that the settlement will be faster. So here it is clearly indicated that if you are taking the particle which are having less particle size, they can settle down slowly, and the formulation will have more stability. I am just repeating it again. Whenever you are taking suspension, emulsion, these are different type of formulation. Suspension is a biphasic liquid dosage form in which solids are incorporated in the liquid. So, the stability of a suspension directly dependent upon the particle size. How? If the particle size is bigger, you will see that the gravitational force will work and settlement of the solid will take place and the formation of cake will take place. If the settlement is faster, then the stability is lesser. So if you are making the particle size to be smaller, you will see that the suspension will be settled down slowly. The next one is for the emulsion. The same case for the emulsion. If you are watching the globules are very small, they will hang in the another vehicle for a long time. If you will see that the globules will come together and they will form the big globules, you will see that they will attract themselves and they will form another layer. So there will be chances of phase separation, and the heavier phase will come down, and the stability of the suspense that emulsion will be there. Instability of the suspension we can find out there. So it may be a defect of the emulsion. So we are getting that if the particle size is less, better is always the drug stability. Now, first we will know what is micromeritics. Micro, in general term, we know as the small. To study the particles which are generally present in the micron. Micron is nothing but 10 to the power 4 meter. So if you are thinking about the considering the particle which are less than 10 to the power minus 4 micrometer, these are also known as the micron or micrometer. So this particle size, how the particle size is influencing the different drug formulation, the study characteristic, the flow property, or different type of the pharmaceutical characteristic, physical characteristic, whatever we are studying, it is combined together as the micromeritics. Now we will study about the different methods which are implemented for determining the particle size. The particle size can be determined by different methods. The first type of method is known as the optical microscopy, in which the particle size has to be remain in between 0.2 to 100 micrometer. Next one is known as the sieving method. Sieving method, whenever the particle size are ranging between 40 to 9500 micrometer, 40 to 9500 micrometer, then the sieving method is implemented. Whenever the particle size ranges are from 0.08 to 300 micrometer, at that time sedimentation methods are taken into consider. But in case of 0.5 to 300 micrometer particle, the particle volume methods are generally implemented. So first we will know about the optical microscopy. What is optical microscopy? Before we think about the optical microscopy, we have to know about certain parameters which are used for the determining the size of the particle. Generally, the diameter of the particles in the micromeritics are considered in different way. First is known as the surface diameter, which is written as ds. It is the diameter of a sphere having the same surface area as the particle. It is known as surface diameter. Second one is known as the volume diameter. What is volume diameter? It is the diameter of a sphere having the same volume as the particle. Next one is known as the projected diameter. It is written as dp. dp is the projected diameter of a sphere having the same observed area as the particle. Next one is known as the Stokes diameter. It is known as DST. It is written as DST. It is the diameter which describe an equivalent sphere undergoing sedimentation at the same rate as the symmetrical particles. Generally, the powders are having different type of shape. These are not having the particular dimensional shape. So whenever we are studying, why we are thinking about different type of diameter instead of making their original diameter. First one is the surface diameter. So what we are considering, we can plot a graph of particular type of powder, and whatever its surface area, we can make the same circle of the same surface area. Whenever the diameter will be considered of the equivalent sphere diameter, that is known as the surface diameter. What is volume diameter? when any particle or any powder form, any small particle that is having the equivalent volume, same volume, we will make a sphere in the 3D of the same equivalent volume, and whatever the diameter we are having, that equivalent diameter is known as the volume diameter. Third one is the projected diameter. Projected diameter, we will see that there are different projections are there in the particle. We will make imaginary circle which are coming under those projection, and the projected uh, distance will be calculated, and that distance is known as projected diameter. Sedimentation diameter or the Stokes diameter. The Stokes diameter is directly related to the rate of sedimentation. We know that the size of the particle, whenever they are settling down, they are having their movement, that is moving from up to down. That is the sedimentation. The rate of sedimentation will depend upon the size of the particle. So equivalent weight of the particle, whatever how much speed they are going on settling, that will be equivalent. That time will be noted, and that time that will be tried. That has to be calculated with the equivalent particle which are coming down, the spherical particle which are coming down from that much height to the down. The rate of sedimentation that is equivalent to the circular particle has to be equivalent with the timing of the particle which are moving from up to down. That type of equivalent diameter is known as the Stokes diameter. Under the microscope, if you are observing the size of the particle, then it is known as microscopic method of the optical method. So there are certain disadvantages related to microscopic method. How? Whenever you are taking the particles under the microscope and those are counting 300 to 500, it is a good estimation distribution, but it make the calculation and observation very slow and tedious. Next one is known as sieving method. What is sieving method? Sieving method is very common. Sieving method is very common, and it is used day to day life also. Unknowingly, we are also doing the sieving method every day. It is the method by which we can screen different type of powders according to different size. It is just a method of size separation. First, we should know what is sieve number. Sieve number is written by hash. What is sieve number? Sieve number, in 1 square inch area, how many pores are present? It is the number is indicated, and the indicated number is the sieve number. For example, if you are taking 1 square inch area and there are 100 pores in the sieve, then that is known as the 100 mesh. If you are taking 1 square inch area and you are getting 10 pores in the sieve, then that is known as the 10 mesh. So it is clearly indicated. If the sieve number is higher, the finer is the particle, and vice versa. That is, if the sieve number is lower, you are getting coarse particle. So we have to arrange in the sieving method. We have to arrange the highest sieve number at the bottom and the lowest sieve number at the up. We have to take the powders which has to be separated according to their particle size, has to place at the upper one, and it has to be placed in the sieve shaker. So whenever the sieve will start to shake, you will see that the particles which are having at the coarse, those will remain at the higher, and smaller will come down. For example, 10 mesh sieve, you are getting the coarser. If you are getting 40 mesh, you are getting somewhat finer. If you are getting 100 mesh, you are getting more fine particle. So accordingly, we can determine the particle size, how much the size distribution of the particles are present in a particular type of the powder form. It is one of the easiest and common method to determine the particle size. Next method is known as the sedimentation method. As I told, whenever any particle is present in a suspension, the higher the particle size, the rate of sedimentation will be faster. So depending upon that fact, a particular equipment is used to determine the particle size. So that is known as the Anderson apparatus. In that, it is directly linked with the Stokes law. According to the rate of sedimentation, we can find out the particle size, and we will differentiate the particle size. For the sedimentation method, the size range of the particle ranging from 0.08 to 300 micrometer. Next one is a particle volume measurement. In this type, we are getting two electrodes which are present inside the capillary. Whenever any kind of electrolyte or any kind of particle will come, then the resistant is automatically noted. For each type of the particle, the resistant will be different. So number of the particles are moving inside the capillary. It can be noted in a computerized manner, and the data is obtained. From that, we can determine the particle size. Next one is the density measurement. Density of the powders is also known as the powder rheology, because we are studying the flow of the powder. How? There are generally two type of densities are present that we are going for the micromeretic study. One is known as the true density, second one is known as the bulk density. What is true density? Whenever we are taking the powder without any pores or the void space, then that is known as the true density of any kind of powder. What is bulk density? Inclusive of our pores or the porous membrane or the void space, whatever the volume it is consuming, and we are finding the density, then that is known as the bulk density. So before that, we should know about what is bulk volume and what is tapped volume, or that is the true volume. So the true volume is nothing but the substance. Again, I am just repeating. That was the density. This one is the volume. So what is density? Mass divided by volume. Weight present per volume is nothing but is the density. So we are writing generally. If you're, whenever you are going for the writing for the formula, we are taking the true density as the rho T. Rho T is nothing but the true density. It is true volume, that is the weight divided by true volume. Similarly, if you are going for the calculation of the bulk density, density is equal to mass divided by volume. So bulk density is nothing but mass divided by bulk volume. Next one is the flow properties of the powder. So flow property of the powder play a very important role in the industrial scale, because whenever you are taking the powders from the hopper to the punching machine to the die cavity, at that time in the tablet compression machine generally it is rotating at a very high speed. So whenever the die is present and this granules or the powders are coming down, and the particle flow or the powder flow is not uniform, you will see that there will be a lot of defects will be found. For example, weight variation along with the ingredient uniformity, content uniformity will be defect. You can find the defective formulation, and the parameters will be the weight variations and the content uniformity. So the flow property of the substance is very important. So these are studied in different methods. First one is known as Car's index, second one is known as Hausner's ratio, third one is known as the angle of repose. So these are the different parameters which are used to determine the flow property of the powder. First one is known as the Car's index. Cars index is calculated it is easily calculated. First you have to take the tap density, then you have to deduct from the pore density, and you have to find the ratio from the tap density. Whatever you are getting the result, you have to make the percentage. That means you have to multiply by 100. So you are getting the cars index. These are the different ranges for the cars index. These are the value which are indicating the flow property of powders. If the powder compressibility index, the car's compressibility index is ranging from 5 to 15. The property is known as the excellent flow. If those are remaining between 16 to 18, it is good. If 19 to 21, it is fair. If that is 32 to 35, it is poor. And 36 to 40, it is very, very poor. Whether if that is more than 40, it is extremely poor. Next one is the Hausner's ratio. What is Hausner's ratio? It is a ratio between tap to pore density. It is generally written as rho T divided by rho P or rho B. So the ratio is known as the Hausner's ratio. The value less than 1.25 indicate to have good flow property of the substance. Next is angle of repose. What is angle of repose? It is one of the important characteristic to study the flow property of the powder or the rheology study of the powder. The method, how we can determine the angle of repose. First, we have to weigh accurately the powders. Then, we have to take the funnel which is attached with the stand with a minimum height from the ground. Before we place the powder, we have to place the graph paper below. Then we have to smoothly close the ending of the funnel. Then we have to fill up the weighed material of the powder. Whenever the equivalent weight of the powders are placed inside the funnel, slowly we have to remove our hand which is blocked or any curtain plug which has been blocked. Allow them to move smoothly without any disturbance. Whenever it will come down, we will see that a pile will be formed on the graph paper. It is just like a cone in which it will form a circle on the surface of the graph paper, and the diameter will gradually decrease till the upside of the pile. Next, without disturbing, we have to measure the height of the pile. It will be h. It has to be written as the h is equal to height of the pile. So next, what we have to do, we have to make the circle on the graph paper, and from the graph paper we can easily find out what is the diameter, and from the diameter we can easily find out what is the radius. So right now we are having two parameters, h is the height, r is the radius. So how we can determine the angle of repose? Angle of repose is nothing but the tangential angle between the height and the radius. So we have tan theta is equal to h by r, and from that formula we can easily find out the theta. Theta is equal to tan inverse of h by r. We can place the value of h and value of r which we have find out from the measurement, and we can find out the value of theta. The value of theta is directly indicating the flow property of the powder. If you are getting the lesser angle, then the flow property of the powder seems to be good. If that is increasing more than 90, then the powder quality, the flow property found to be worst. These are the data which are indicating the different flow property of the powder depending upon angle of repose. If the angle of repose is less than 20, it is found to be excellent. If those are remaining between 20 to 30, it is good. If those are remaining between 30 to 40, then it is possible. If those are greater than 40, then these are known as the poor flow of the powder. So whenever you are taking any kind of powder and those are having the poor flow property, we can increase the flow property of the substance by adding some amount of glidant. How the glidant will improve the flow property of the powder? Because we know that the surface of the powders are generally rough in nature. They are not having proper geometrical arrangement. So whenever you are taking any kind of glidant, you can see that they will remain on the surface and they will make the surface of the powder make the surface of the powder smooth, and that will reduce the friction between the two particles so that we can get uniform flow and we can enhance the flow property of the powders. Now we will focus on the different factors which are influencing the flow property of the powder. First one is known as the particle size and distribution. Second one is known as the particle shape and texture. Third one is the surface force. Fourth one is the flow activation. So how we can improve the flow property of the powder? First one, whenever you are taking any kind of powder, we have to think that powder must be in the uniform texture. Then generally those must be smooth. Those should not be rough. Second one, if you are making the powder and we are changing its shape to different type of granules, the granules are generally spherical in nature, so that we can see that the flow property will be uniform. Third one, whenever you are going for the formulation, we must have to consider about the moisture content. If the moisture content is more, then we can get a lot of stickiness. So whenever you're preparing for the flowing of the powder, those has to be smooth. Then we have to think for the reducing the moisture content, so that it will go for anti-adhering to each other, and the smooth flow can be taken place. We can make it dry, and we can make it into the non-hygroscopic material so that we can improve the formulation. Next, we can also use some amount of glidant. As I told earlier, that whenever you are taking the glidants, these are filling the rough surface and that is making the area to be smooth, and it is reducing the interface locking, that is known as the friction. By help of glidant, it can be smooth and the rate of flow will be better. So today it is the end of the class. So further reference you can choose the textbook of Physical Pharmacy by C.V.S. Subramaniam, and you can also study the Martin book, that is the Physical Pharmaceutics book. And for today, thank you very much. And if there is any kind of questions, you can contact me through my contact number, and I am always available. Stay at home, don't go out. Thank you.